When was Planning Commission set up? It was on 1950. It refers to increase in the country's capacity to produce the output of goods and services within the country. It is nothing but the sum total of money that you receive from all the three sectors together within a year is represented as gross domestic product. Hello everybody, I'm your Divya ma'am, Assistant Professor from Department of Commerce and Management, lecturing Vidhyaashram Pre-University College, Mysuru, the Temple of Excellence. I take this opportunity to welcome you all for the Chapter 2, Session 1. The Chapter 2 named as Indian Economy 1950 to 1990. So in this chapter, you will be able to understand about the goals of 5-year plan. So after independence, there was a lot of necessary to take up the resources in a proper way. So it made our Indian government to decide how to use the resources properly. So in order to use the resources and put them in a efficient manner for our economic development, they took up a 5-year plan. So that was set up by a planning commission. So in this chapter, mainly during 1950 to 1990, what was the situation we had, what are the government initiatives that they have taken to develop our economy, and during this period, what was the sectoral reforms that we have seen, that is in your agriculture sector and your industrial sector. In this chapter, you will also be learning about the merits and the demerits of our reformed economy. So all this topic one by one will discuss. Moving forward, the agenda for today's discussion, as I have told you, will be discussing about the introduction of the period between 1950 to 1990. What was our situation that we had, how the government took up the initiative, what they decided. So all that will be studied in the introduction part. The second is, the most importantly that you all have to study is the goals of 5-year plan. So every plan had certain objectives and goals that has to be achieved. So through optimum utilization of resources, through this planning commission have set up this plans and objectives. So within the stipulated time period, so these are the objectives, these are the goals that has to be achieved. So what are the goals of 5 years plan? And we'll also be discussing the agricultural sector reform, the revolution that has been there during 1950 to 1990. Moving forward, so we all know when our India became independent. So it was 15th August 1947. So during that time, the constitution was framed. At the same time, the national leaders, they were desperate to set up our economy in a structural form, in a composite manner. So it was very necessary for them to decide what kind of economic structure they have to bring in. So we all know we have 3 sectors, that is agriculture sectors, then we have secondary sector and the tertiary sector. So agriculture, primary sector, secondary sector and the tertiary sector. Primary sector was mainly about the agriculture, the occupation mainly about the agriculture. The secondary sector is all about the manufacturing industries, and tertiary sectors, it is from the service-oriented industry, service sector. So these sectoral reforms, how to utilize the resources properly, because we have scarce resources. So among the scarce resources, the allocation of resources among these different sector was important, was vital to take up a better decision. So that they took up the 5-year plan. So for the optimum utilization of resources, they have taken up the 5-year plan. So India became independent on 15th August 1947. After independence, leaders had to decide the type of economic system. So what are the different type of economic system we have? Mainly we have 3 systems. So what are those 3 systems? The first is market economy, also called as capitalistic economy. The second is social or socialist economy. The third one is mixed economy. Now the country has to decide what to produce, how to produce, when to produce, and the produced goods and services, how they have to distribute it. So it is all depend on the decisions that they have to take. So through this economic system, they have decided what to produce, how to produce, and produced product, how they have to distribute. So they have bifurcated the three economic system, mainly market economy, also called as capitalistic economy. So the selling of goods and services, the distribution of goods and services depend on the market situation. What is market situation? It is nothing but the demand and supply. When the decision have to be taken based on the production and distribution of goods and services, when the decision is being made based on the market situation, based on the demand and supply situation, then the system is called as market economy. So what is market economy? I'll repeat. Market economy is called as capitalistic economy. So why it is called as capitalistic economy? Because it depends on the market situation, demand and supply factor. So if there is lot of demand for cars, they will only produce the cars and then sell it. So this kind of economy is called as capitalistic economy or market economy. Next, we have a socialistic economy. Socialistic, the word itself says it is taken, the decision is taken by the government. So what the benefit, what are the social requirements that is needed for our society? So based on the government decision, the system runs. So that is called as socialistic economy. And the last is mixed economy. So the combination of both market economy and the mixed economy, that is private system and the government system together, is called as market economy. So in a country, what they have to produce, the goods and services, that the decision used to take based on the market situation as well as based on the social requirement that is needed for the society. So this is mixed economy. So moving forward, Nehru and the other thinkers found the economic system. So they have found the economic system, so which has the best features of both socialism and capitalism, that is mixed economy. Even today, India, the developing countries, they use mixed economy system for the decision of producing the goods and services. In 1950, Planning Commission was set up. It is very important 1 mark question for your examination. When was Planning Commission set up? It was on 1950. Why this Planning Commission was set up? So this Planning Commission will give the plan for 5 years. That is, next 5 years, what is our country's development should be. So that is Planning Commission's duty. Moving forward, let us check what are the goals of 5 years plan. First of all, let us understand what is plan. Plan is nothing but the strategy in order to take up the better decision. So we have many alternatives, we have many plans together so that the best plan suits our economy. So we move towards the economic development. So that is plan. So we have goals for the 5 years plan. So for all the 5 years plan, they had a goal. They had an objective. What are the objective? Growth, modernization, self-reliance and equity. So all these are the 4 important goals we had. This does not mean that all the plans have given equal importance. So based on the priority, based on the resources, these goals have set. Due to limited resources, a choice has to be made for each plan about which the goals has to be given. They prioritize the goals based on the resources available and based on the importance that we had. The planners have to ensure that as far as possible, the policies of plan do not contradict these 4 goals. Now let us understand the goals of 5 years plan one by one. First is growth. Growth in terms of what? Growth in terms of expanding the capacity of production. I repeat, growth in what? Growth means increase in the capacity of production of goods and services. So that is the main objective behind the 5-year plans. It refers to increase in the country's capacity to produce the output of goods and services within the country. Goods, you know what is the difference between goods and services? Goods are tangible in nature, services are intangible in nature. So along with every product, there is a service that is attached with it. So it implies either the large stock of productive capital or large size of supporting services. So they wanted to increase in the field of transportation, banking, insurance, and an increase in the efficiency of productive capital and goods. So they wanted to have a growth in terms of capacity in the production of goods and services. A good indicator of economic growth is indicated as, in the language, it is expressed in the language of GDP. What is gross domestic product? In the last chapter also I have explained you all about gross domestic product. It is nothing but it is all the total market value of the goods and services produced during the country. So within a year, from the goods and services, within the year, particular year, what is the value you get? What is the amount you get? It is expressed in terms of GDP, gross domestic product. It is necessary to produce more goods and services if the people of India are enjoying a more rich variety of life, varied life. If we want, the more goods have to be produced, because during the colonial period we were only the raw materials exporters. We were just importing all the finished products, even the food and the processed food, everything we were importing from the foreign countries. The GDP of the country is derived from different sector of the economy. Mainly, I have discussed this: agriculture sector, industrial sector and service sector. So all together, in agriculture sector, industrial sector and the tertiary sector, all together they measure the value in a particular year, and that is called as gross domestic product. In simple words, if I wanted to put in front of you, it is nothing but the sum total of money that you receive from all the three sectors together within a year is represented as gross domestic product. Moving forward, the contribution made by each of the sector make the structural composition of the economy. In some countries, growth in agriculture contributes more. In some country, we have tertiary sector, we have industrial sector, the other sectors which contributes more. So it depends on the country. Moving forward, the second is modernization. The second goal of 5-year plan is what? Modernization. Modern, the word itself says updating. Updating in terms of what? Increase in the production of goods and services. If we want to increase, if we want to produce more goods and services, we have to adopt new technology. Adoption of new technology is called as modernization, as simple as that. Modernization does not refer only the usage of new technology, but along with that, change in the social outlook. We have to change our perspective, social mindset, social perspective, recognition to the women. Earlier, women were only restricted to household chores. They have to be a homemaker. Now, the women who is talented, women who can work at different places should be given equal importance to work at different sector, different jobs. So that is called as modernization. Moving forward, self-reliance. The word itself says self-independent. So the country were more importers. We were importing a lot, even the food, as I have told you. So we have to be self-independent, self-reliant. Then what we have to do? We have to produce more, we have to manufacture more, we have to set up lot of industries into our particular country. It generates employment opportunity, we get salary, and that increases the person's income, that is per capita income. Ultimately, it will contribute to the national's income, that is your GDP will increase. So this is how the development should happen. The first 5-year plan gave more importance to self-reliance, self-independence, which means avoiding imports of those goods which can be produced in India itself. So they stopped everything. India itself, they wanted to produce, they wanted to sell here only, and we also wanted to export. So that is what self-reliant. So that is what the goal that we had, that is a self-reliance in our 5-year plan. Moving forward, it is understandable that people who were recently freed from foreign domination should give more importance, who were dominated by foreign countries. So they should give more importance. Further, it was feared that dependence on import food supplies, foreign technology and the foreign capital may make India's sovereignty vulnerable. Foreign interference in our policy. What does this statement mean? So it means nothing that we were completely dependent on our foreign technology, foreign capital and the foreign technology, the food supplies. So this becomes a threat to our India. Why? Because the foreign policies, the restriction that they bring in our foreign trade, so that will lead to difficult in our country's development. So that is the main important reason they focused on self-reliance, self-independence, so that the country should produce within India itself whatever they can produce. Moving forward, equity. Equity means what? Equality. Equality in terms of everything. So all the people in India should have equality. We should be equal in terms of food, clothing and shelter. The basic amenities should be given to us. So in addition to growth, modernization and self-reliance, equity is also very important. It plays a vital role in our development. So because of this only, all this land reforms, the tiller the land, then sealing of land, all this reforms that the government initiated, because we want equality. Every Indian should be able to meet their basic living, a decent house, education and the healthcare. Inequality leads to distribution of wealth, then that should be reduced. So one of the major our Indian economic problem is unequal distribution of wealth. We doesn't have the wealth properly distributed among the people. Poor are becoming more poorer. They are below the poverty line. Rich people are getting richer. So this inequality should be abolished, should be taken away by the government. So let us now see how the first 7-year plan covering the period to 1950 to 1990 attempted to these 4 goals and the extent to which they succeeded in doing so with reference to agriculture and industry and trade. With reference to agriculture, industry and trade, how this goals, how this 5-year plan have implemented and brought development. So as we discussed growth, we want modernization, we want self-reliance, we want equality. So how through this 5-year plan all these goals were achieved? Through this object, whether these objectives were achieved or what will be discussed in the next slide. Agriculture. Agriculture is our country's backbone. Even today, if we are strong, is because of our agriculture. The cultivation, what we are having, the wheat and the rice, that is more in our country. So let us discuss. During the colonial period, there was neither growth or equality in the agriculture sector. So they have bought the zamindari system, Raitwari and Mahalwari system, wherein the laborers were exploited. So I have discussed this in the your colonial period agricultural reforms. So in that, what was the development I have discussed in the previous chapter. So kindly go back to the previous chapter and learn about the colonial rule, how they exploited the agriculture farmers. So this policy had completely exploited the people. So what they did at this time, they bought land reforms. Reforms means what? Revolution, changes. They bought some changes in the agriculture land. So what was this? The owning of land. So at the time of independence, the land tenure system was characterized by intermediaries, as I have discussed. So they were completely taken over all the goods, all the produced food grains from the farmers, and there was a tenancy system that were there, where they were treated as tenants, wherein they used to pay lot of rent. All these things were there. Earlier it was abolished. So they bought the tiller the land rule. So what is the tiller the land rule? So who is the person who is owning that particular land, who is cultivating the crops over a period of time? So he becomes the owner of the particular land. So tiller the land were introduced as a land reform in order to abolish this system. Moving forward, independent India took steps. They are as follows. First is to abolish the intermediaries, to make the tillers the owners of the land, as I have told you. Land ceiling limit. Land ceiling limit means for a per person, the land were restricted. For example, 1 acre, 2 acre. So based on the person's capacity and the wealth, the land ceiling limit, the land area limit were fixed. Next, around 200 lakh tenants were freed from being exploited. From this 200 lakhs of tenants, the farmers were protected from the exploitation. The land ceiling registration faced certain hurdles. During that time, they faced lot of problems. What was the problem? Is they were not getting proper registration, the ownership, the agreement, they used to not get it. The papers for the registration was not with them, and the zamindars was not able to provide them the proper documents. So all these are the problems or the hurdles they faced during the land reform, which is very important. Moving forward, to have it's like giving an ice during a summer. How it feels? We feel joy. So same thing happened to the farmers when Green Revolution was started. Green Revolution means the changes in the agriculture, wherein they started a concept called high-yielding variety seeds. Earlier, the crop where we are getting today, it is or throughout the year we get the crop. Throughout the year we get apple. Throughout the year we get different fruits, isn't it? Earlier it was not that. We were getting only seasonal vegetables. The crops were limited to seasons. So then what they have initiated through Green Revolution, they have initiated the high yielding variety seeds, wherein they used to get high yield, high level of crops. They used to get, especially wheat and rice. The use of these seeds require use of fertilizer, use of pesticides. This is also one of the major problem. So the pest will entirely spoil the crop that is grown. So pesticides is very important, and proper fertilizer should be given. Proper manure has to be put in so that the crop and the yield is high. So in the correct quantities as well as regular supply of water, the application of these inputs will correct the proportion. Is the correct proportion, utilization of these important things in a correct proportion becomes necessary when you are using a high yield variety crop. The farmers who could benefit from high yield variety seeds required reliable irrigation facilities as well as the financial resources to purchase the fertilizers and pesticides. So they used to get lot of fertilizers and pesticides. So the government also were funding the farmers to get all these things. Moving forward, the Green Revolution, the government provided loans at low interest rates to the small farmers as well as subsidized fertilizers. They subsidized fertilizers in the sense they used to get subsidies every month for buying the fertilizers, so that small farmers could also have access to the needed inputs. So to have a proper high yield variety crops, to use them, there should be a proper manure, there should be a proper proportion of fertilizer and the supply of water all together. So putting all them together, what happens? You get a high yield in a better way. So this results the government also to support the small farmers. They have given funding to them. Since the small farmers could obtain the required input, the output on small farms equaled the output on large farms in the course of time. So small farms as well as large farms, the quantity what they were produced, it were equaled over the time, since all the benefits were given by the government. So let's conclude the topic. So in today's class, we have discussed about the 5 years plan, the goal of 5 years plan, that is growth, modernization, and we have also discussed about self-reliance and equality. Later, we have discussed about the agriculture, so how the situation was there during the agriculture sector, and to protect our farmers, what was the government initiatives that we have got. So all this we have discussed in today's class. So that's it, my dear students. Hope the session was very interesting and fruitful. Smile is the biggest jewel you can wear, people. Keep smiling. Thank you.